Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to the Dabs of Reality show. I'm your host, Tom Crawshaw. Today I've got another exciting, mind-blowing, magical trip report to share with you. We're going to be talking about 4-ACO DMT. I'm going to share with you my experience and how, let's be honest, it was the most intense, crazy experience I've ever had on psychedelics. So we're going to dive into exactly what happened in this video. But first of all, if you're new here to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch more videos like this. We've got the Your Brain on Drugs series coming up. So if you want to check out those videos, make sure you subscribe. And listen, let's open up the conversation. If you have an experience that you want to share in the comments, if you've got a question you want to ask, make sure you write that below. And of course, as with all these videos, they are for informational purposes only. The goal here is to reduce harm where possible and to give you as much information as I can possibly share with you to help you make an informed decision. You should know by now that the substances that I'm talking about are pretty much illegal in most countries across the world, and I'm not recommending you to go out and try anything yourself. But without further ado, let's get into this pretty wild adventure that I went on just a few days ago with my brother. Now, you may or may not have come across 4-ACO DMT before. You might think that it is an analog of DMT, and you would be correct. It's a synthetic analog that has been created by the legend, the one and only Albert Hofmann, way back in the day. He came up with a bunch of different analogs. So 4-ACO DMT, it metabolizes into psilocin, which is the active compound in psilocybin. Now, it's really interesting to note that for me personally, the effects are a lot more like DMT. So we're going to get into exactly what happened a little bit later in this video. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of background in terms of the setup and my expectations going into the trip. If you want to actually get into the trip report, you might want to fast forward maybe a minute or two, and I'm going to put a link below for the actual trip report experience. But I'm just going to give you the idea of how we set things up. So it's been a little while since I've taken a strong dose of psychedelics. In fact, the last experience that I had was the 5-gram heroic dose of magic mushrooms, which was over a year ago now. So I spent some time in Portugal and Spain over Christmas and New Year. Did a lot of journaling, and it became apparent that another adventure, a high dose experience, would be very beneficial for me. So I knew that 4-ACO DMT was available, and that was what we were going to try out as the next high dose experience. So we had a dose of about 50 to 80 milligrams. Now, you don't want to be taking a lot of this stuff. It's very, very potent. And unfortunately, we didn't have super accurate scales. So we had kind of a range that we thought we were taking. We eyeballed it as well from previous experiences with this stuff. But we knew we were going to be in for a very intense, crazy ass roller coaster ride of an experience. So before ingesting, we decided to tune the substance to a specific solfeggio frequency. Now, I don't know if this affects anything at all, but we blasted, I think the frequency was a 432 hertz. We blasted the substance with this music while doing meditation ourselves. One of the really interesting things that I did notice when doing the meditation is I felt all my chakras in my body, all the energy centers, I felt them with more ease. I felt there was more sensations in the different energy centers, and I could switch between them quite easily. So I did a short meditation to set my intention, to surrender to the experience, and also to ask for assistance from any helpers that might be present to guide me through this experience and show me things that are gonna offer me the greatest growth for where I'm at right now. So anyway, listen, we took the substance and it took about maybe 30 minutes to start getting the bodily sensations. So if you tried psychedelics before, you know that you start to feel warm, something is happening inside. Your vision increases in sensitivity. And I did notice after about 30 or even 40 minutes, some very mild closed eye visuals. And they were very reminiscent of a DMT experience. They were the same kind of shapes and symbols and colors, but this was all very slow, very mild background sensations and visuals. So after about an hour, things really started to kick in hard. And to be honest, the stuff I'm going to share in this video, so much more went on that I can't possibly put into words. I'm trying to give you the best recollection possible, as this is quite fresh in my memory. I did some writing afterwards to try and cement in some of those memories. One of the things that really stood out to me as the substance started to take hold was the music, right? I'm not entirely sure exactly what music we were listening to. My brother was taking care of that side of things. I'm gonna ask him, I'm gonna post in the comments below with the link to the music that we had on, because it was so incredibly mind-blowing. You could hear all the intricate different sections of the music, and it was as if it was being streamed directly down from God himself. So every sort of 5 or 10 seconds, it was as if my mind was getting blown, like a brain orgasm, every 5-10 seconds as this music started to shift and change. So that was really, really apparent for me. And eventually after an hour or so, I just had to close my eyes and drift off into this extremely intense cycle of thoughts and visions. And through this process, I noticed as I turned to my right that there was these two entities, these two beings over my shoulder. And they seemed quite friendly, and what they were doing was they were taking me on a journey down this path. It seemed like it was some kind of winding road. And on the road there were stop-offs where I would turn, have a look, and they would explain to me a specific law of nature, a specific fundamental element to this existence. You know, how we create things with our thoughts, the fundamentals of physics and science. Listen, I'm not going to try and explain exactly what went on there, but it felt like I was downloading all the information that has ever existed across time. It was completely mind-blowing. So with my eyes open, you could see the perfect geometry in all things. So I pick up my glass of water, I look inside, and I can just see all the geometry of the water, of the glass, and how it was shifting and moving. It was completely fascinating. And this is something that you'll typically see on psilocybin and DMT as well. So another thing to note is that these intense sections of the trip, they came in rushes. So what was happening, there was kind of like a cycle. So if you have a thought or a vision or something pulling you in a direction, it's as if you would get yanked and you would be going. You would just be going for quite some time down that sort of rabbit hole. And I'm not sure if this is making sense, but that's what was happening over and over and over again. We were getting pulled down different rabbit holes, down different wormholes. Time would just evaporate and you would just be going balls deep down this hyperdrive style tunnel with crazy shapes and visions. But there was a real deep sense of meaningfulness from this whole experience. Another way to describe this could be a fast flowing river. So you're kind of sat on the banking and you dip your toe in and the whole river just pulls your whole body down the river. That's kind of what it felt like over and over and over again. So at one point when I was relaxing, I was looking at my brother, it seemed like we had this telepathic communication. So I would look at him and I wouldn't say anything, but it's as if I knew exactly what was going on in his mind. There was so much more information being transferred between us than could possibly be transferred through speech alone. And this happened multiple times. Maybe I would just only need to say one word or make a specific gesture and he would know exactly what I meant and exactly what I was thinking at that moment. And this resulted in so much laughter, so much hysterics. It was pretty magical and definitely one of the most amazing experiences of my life. Now, another really profound experience that came out of this was a moment where I was laying on the bed and I was staring at my arm and I was moving my fingers and I could see all the different muscles in my arm, right? I could see the skin, the fascia of the skin moving. I could see all my veins. I could see the blood moving through my arms. It was literally as if I had X-ray vision. So I was playing around with my hand and I was trying to see, what part of my arm was moving, by how much. And it really just occurred to me, this subtle, fine motor control that we have and that we can develop as humans, specifically with our fingers and our hands and our wrists. Like, we wouldn't be here as humans living today if it wasn't for our hands, our wrists, and our fingers, right? This part of the body is pretty amazing, right? We wouldn't have been able to eat. We wouldn't have been able to make tools. We wouldn't have been able to hunt. We wouldn't have been able to write. So there'd be no history and we'd be pretty defenseless. So as a human without a hand, you're not useless, but you're not very useful. So I had this crazy realization that this hand here is the most important part, or one of the most important parts of our entire body. And in fact, if we didn't have the hand, I don't think we would have made it to this moment in time. And as a musician, as a guitar player, this was incredibly fascinating for me. And what happened was there was kind of a flow, almost like a dance of my hand. And I was moving intentionally, trying to move the fingers and the wrist and the hand in as many different orientations and directions as possible. And this also seemed to mesmerize my brother. This was flowing for quite some time and it felt amazing as well as I did it. So light and almost as if I was being guided in a way. It's also pretty freaky to look at your arm and consider that, hey, this is my arm. I can control this with my mind. And that kind of realization was just mind-blowing. Now, we did have a little bit of a dance and a boogie, but because the trip was so strong and intense that you were literally forced to sit back down if you decided to stand up, and you would get taken down another rabbit hole. Focus and attention was all over the place. So if you tried to dance and focus on some music, your attention would then get distracted by something else and boom, you're down that rabbit hole and that's it for some time. Now, there was so much that I can't really explain in this trip. I definitely felt a sense of ego death. There was a part where it was just ineffable. I can't really explain what it was, but I definitely lost and separated that sense of myself in that first hour of the trip as my eyes were shut and I was taken on this crazy voyage. Now, as the trip was decreasing in intensity, I did have some really powerful, reflective thoughts of gratitude just for this experience. Not so many people get to experience and get to glimpse and see what I have just seen over those 2-3 hours. And I just felt so much gratitude in my heart for the experience, for sharing that with my brother, and for all the insights and things that I was shown. And it's also just a great reminder that we are consciousness having a human experience, not the other way around. We're not this bag of bones that will die and disintegrate as soon as we depart this earth. I think that there is so much more to consciousness, to us humans, than we ever really realize. And that truly we are capable of almost anything. So this was a great reminder that we are infinite beings, that we are this consciousness having a human experience, and that there is so much magic, so much wonder in this life, that why should we ever spend so much time being worried, being depressed, being anxious about the little things that actually don't really matter so much? We always tend to give things too much importance, and this trip for me just brought me back home to where magic really does happen, and hopefully you're going to be able to take those insights and those learnings and those lessons moving forward into my life. So I hope this has been useful and valuable. I think everyone has their own unique twist and experience when you do try something like this. But for me, it was by far the most potent trip that I have ever had in my life, more potent than the 5 grams of dried psilocybin mushrooms. So, like I said, this should not be taken lightly. I've had many years experience with psychedelics, and once again, I'm only filming this for harm reduction and educational purposes. So with that being said, let's open up the conversation. Drop me a comment below, let me know your experience, what you thought to this trip report, and until next time, guys, appreciate you tuning in until the end if you're still here, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I know your time is extremely valuable, so if you've enjoyed today's content, please consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell so you get a notification next time I release another one of these videos. You can also leave me a comment below and let me know what part of this video resonated the most with you, or simply click that like button to let me know you enjoyed this content. And if you want to get your hands on a free 12-minute guided meditation that I recorded to help you manifest your dreams and create whatever you want in your life, go ahead and click the link in the description for your free download. And if you want to check out all the latest blog posts on my blog, dabsofreality.com, the link is down there below as well, along with my Instagram and my Facebook page if you want to consider following me on those platforms. Until next time, catch you on the flip side.